involved. Pastors, you must take the time to get your congregation involved in the administration of the church. Which means that you must take the time to get to know your congregation. I had a 90-day plan coming into Bethel. Bethel didn't know this, but I had a 90-day plan coming into Bethel. Broke it down in 10 days at a time. For the first 10 days, Reverend Deidre was there with me for the first 10 days. I sat in that office, read every folder, read every piece of paper that I could find. Because it was important to me to learn about the church. Watch this. Before I got here, thank God for technology, I went online. I found the church. I found the neighborhood surrounding the church. I pulled it up on Google Earth. I saw the senior living facility behind us and senior living and did some research because it's important for me to know the context in which I'm going to serve. The second 10 days after I read all the papers, I took the time out and I met with Sister OJ, and everybody warned Pastor just be prepared. Amen. Sister OJ is a historian of the church. We met for about 3.5 hours. And I listened because it was important for me to learn the history of the church. Because pastors, can I tell you something that if you learn the history of the church, then you won't make the same mistake twice. The folks will tell you, we tried this. They'll tell you from whence we came. My second 30 days, after I researched, I started talking to some people, then I thought, okay, God, what are you saying to us now? And so I started meeting with folks. I had to get to know the congregation. So talking to folks. Know who's trustworthy, who can I call at the last minute to come and do something. Who has a vision that they've been sitting on that they need to give birth to right now. So you have to get folks involved in the church. Go to the second side. The local church must be both God-centered and people-oriented. We have to understand why we do this work. And we do this work for God. Right? Some of us are diligent on our secular job, but slack off on church work. But we're doing it for God. Can I let you know that the church and congregation deserves more than what you put in their secular work? Amen. The fact is, if your boss is expecting you to deliver something on Monday, you're not going to show up Monday morning to write it. So you ought not be writing sermons on Saturday night before Sunday morning. It's one of my pet peeves. We have to put in work at the administration of the church. The church must acknowledge God as our source and strength in all that we do, and recognize that the church is a ministry to the people so that God's love and grace may be known and experienced by all. Next slide. We talked about this biblical foundation, Exodus chapter 18, verse 21 through 23. God appoints leaders to function effectively. You ought to ask yourself, am I functioning effectively? Am I effective in what I'm doing? As a pastor, as a leader, as a steward, as a trustee. No leader can do the entire job alone. Those who try to do it alone either burn themselves out or wear out the followers. Jesus. You cannot do this alone. You weren't sent to do it by yourself. And I know some of us, right, you say, well, Reverend Carlos, I don't have a staff. I don't have folks. But I guarantee you that people in your congregation are waiting for you to sit and have the conversation with them and be empowered to do the work. Amen. You don't have to do it yourself. You can model the way. All right, I'll come back to that. No leader can do the job entirely alone. Individuals who are delegated tasks must be qualified to do the job. Individuals who are delegated tasks must be qualified to do the job. Stop asking folks to do stuff that they don't know how to do, and you're not willing to teach them how to do it. Watch this. Delegation does not remove the leader from the responsibility. Not because you delegate something to somebody else that releases you from the responsibility. You are responsible, pastors, to check, to double check, to triple check. I'm not encouraging you to micromanage, because I don't like a micromanage. However, when it's all said and done, it's on you. And so you need to make sure that folks are helping you, but you're checking on folks. Individuals who are delegated tasks must be given responsibilities that match their level of ability. That's when talking to somebody, talking to the congregants will help. Because you'll know what they're. And not only that, you will discern. I can't have you lead in Sunday school if not only you can't teach, but you have no spiritual centeredness. Okay, all right. The key to effective church administration is developing the necessary desire and commitment to implement the resources available. You can't operate with what you don't have. We ought to be good stewards over what you do have. All right, let's go to slide number 7. People are more important than programs or structure. Each person in the body of Christ has a function or ministry to perform. Right? Let's get to the conceptual framework. As I was thinking through this, in education, we use this conceptual framework. It's called backwards planning. Amen. Any educator in the house know this. Backwards planning. All right. As a principal, I will drive this way down for my teachers. And basically, I'll say to my teachers, start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. And so for us, we have yearly appointments. And the end for us is the 181st session of the Indiana Annual Conference, scheduled for September 11th through the 16th at Bethel in India. Amen. What do you want to share with the conference? So we won't take 3 minutes. Take 3 minutes. Lay folks, you can have up. You can have up. Take the next 3 minutes. I think I said 5 minutes there, but we're going to take 3. And write an outline of your pastoral report to the 181st session of the Indiana Annual Conference. 3 minutes, pastors. 3 minutes. What, right now, I know it's only November, but we're planning for September of next year. But we're starting with the end in mind. What do you want to say to the Indiana Annual Conference? Lay folks, you can participate. If you're a steward, if you're trustees, you're part of this too. What would you want your pastor to say on behalf of the church? we have about 90 more seconds. All right, if you just go ahead and finish the last sentence. Last sentence. All right, any brave soul who wants us to share this morning?
Soul saved.
Soul saved. So, that's all I want to tell the bishop? Bishop, we have souls saved.
That we have saved souls. We have caused people to come and join the church and give their life to Christ.
Amen.
By the 181st session, I have increased the membership through servant leadership to 30 members who are actively engaged in 10 ministries that have been created. We have fulfilled all the monetary needs of the church. We have an active Bible study, Sunday school, and other thriving ministries.
Amen. It sounds like you just preach on smart goals. Amen. So I heard a couple of things. I heard increase the membership to 30. I heard paying all your budget obligations and something else.
Just the ministries have 10 active ministries.
10 active ministries. Great. 3 goals. Right here.
St. Paul Gordon will be having their first revival December the 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2018. All churches are welcome. I'll be letting you all know, as well as the bishop, that it was a wonderful planning session, and we invited many community people, including the Hispanic church, and we're anticipating their participation, as well as the Reverend Dr. Nelson from Hickman Temple, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, will be preaching all 3 nights. We have a successful winter breakfast fundraiser. We have 2 potential members. We have also partnered with Light members to help our technology education. We have a wonderful church anniversary. We also have an annual barbecue that's also successful, and we're buttoning down on our training.
Amen. Amen. You got to pay me for that because that was free advertising. Amen. Amen. Anyone else want to share? Right here.
Okay, I'm going to start with 3 bullet points, and we can fill in up under that. The first one would be spiritual growth. This is what we want to do. But up under that, we can fill in all of that other stuff for spiritual growth. The other one would be community outreach and financial growth. 1, 2, 3.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to share? Right here. Pastor. Coming to you, Pastor.
I just want to say we want to go out to the neighborhood, visit homes, hospitals, visit homes, give up letters to people, want to get out from the doors, get into the communities, and work with people who helped us in Perkins, because without the help of First Christian, Hispanic Church, Second Baptist, we couldn't have got accomplished what we got accomplished at Perkins. We just want to return to help another church who's in the same situation we was in and help lift them.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pastor Howard.
I think I would want to piggyback on everything that's been said, but I want to focus in on the outreach ministry with the youth. Getting the youth back in, starting up youth programs, and then getting the church restored and getting it fixed back up.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to put my Bethel folks on the spot right now. I need somebody from Bethel to tell the rest of us what are the 4 areas of focus for us this year. What are the 4 areas of focus for Bethel Cathedral this year? This is a check with how y'all been paying attention the last month and a half. Amen. Right here in the back.
Crossroads, AME, our focus will be community outreach, increase our membership, better the church building, love inside the church, and also the kids ministry, the strong kids ministry, and also strong leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody for Bethel? No? Four focus. Evangelism, outreach,
Evangelism, youth, budget,
mortgage reduction, community outreach. Pastors, you must take the time with the Lord to create a vision for your church. This is personal time. This is reflection time. This is study time. This is discerning time. If you cannot articulate the vision for your church, then your people will not be able to catch the vision for the church. Pastors, you must identify goals that are smart. It's very specific. By the end of this conference year, it is the goal of Bethel Church to have 30 new members. When I presented that to the congregation, the first of the congregation said to me, Pastor, we told the bishop 5, and then 12, but it was 12 of us there, that was 60. So I said, 60 is our dream goal. 30, we're going to hold our feet to the fire. By the end of the year, we would have reduced our mortgage by $100,000. That's a goal. Right? Wasn't that what we said? Okay. All right. And so every month, how much are we paying the mortgage? Right. Every month, how many folks got saved and joined the church this month? So when I meet with my official board, when I meet with my stewards, when I meet with my trustees, when I meet with my ministerial staff, everybody's involved in this. Pastor's not going to carry this burden by himself. Sheep begot sheep. And we trying to pervert. But I must take the time to vision with God, to write it out, and to share it with the people. And so every agenda, every meeting that we have, first of all, we have an agenda, amen. And listed on the agenda are the 4 focus areas for the year. I like doing themes, so I preach a series, I do a theme for the year. What is our theme for 2019? Oh, y'all weren't paying attention to the church. We're going to leave y'all in Franklin, not take y'all back there. 2019 is the year of increase. That means all of us are focusing on family, faith, and finances. Pastors, you must take the time to vision. Where there is no vision, the people will perish. Part of the administration of the work of the church is visioning. Spend that time. Vision. We start with backwards planning, so we have the goals. So the next step in this is, what must we put in place? What policies, what procedures, what processes must be in place in order to accomplish the goals for the conference year? So we know we want to increase our membership to 30. And right now we're at 10. So for the next 9 months, We need 20 persons to join the church. So what are we going to do over the next 9 months to get to 30? So it's not overwhelming. So we're not getting to June and July and say, oh, we said we're going to have 30 persons as a part of the church, and right now we only have 15. And you have 2 months for 15 persons to join the church. You must put things in place to accomplish the goals. You have to plan and then plan again. We had baptism at the Bethel last week, and the Spirit moved so much we planned to do 3. And we did 6. Amen. I looked at my students and they got it together. Amen. And my recurring theme of the church is we pray to God to open the doors and pour us out a blessing, but we're not prepared to receive the blessing. If you show up at your church tomorrow morning and instead of 15 people, you have 45, are you prepared for that? Do you have enough bulletins? Do you have seats for them to sit? Do you have a welcome committee to welcome them into the church? This is all a part of the administration of your church. All right, any questions so far? Any questions? Any comments? Yes, sir.
I think it's important that we let people know who we are historically as well and our significance to the conference. And I'm saying that because we happen to be the oldest church in the 4th district. So that's what I would share at the beginning of my pastoral.
Why?
Because it sets the stage of letting people know how relevant we are.
Legacy.
Legacy. But we know that already.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to push you, brother.
I'm staying right with you. We know that already. We know you're the oldest church in the 4th district.
No?
We know that Indiana is a mother conference. I mean, it's just an AME meeting. Right? Why is it important to emphasize our history? You can help me now.
What we accomplished, what we did for political stand, what we did for equal rights, what we did through the 50s, when there was lynching folks and everything, how AME people was helping the community. All those things, become important because it shows that we have been through the fire, and we've been through the storm, and we weathered and came out on the other side.
Okay.
Educate.
Okay. Anybody else? Right in the back.
To continue growth and development and leadership and training.
Okay. So it's important for us to share who we are to continue growth and leadership and training. I'm struggling with that a little bit, but I'm going to go.
You have to know where we've been to know where we're going.
Great. Thank you.
I would say where we began, where we are, and where we hope to go.
To educate.
To educate. Thank you.
I was going to say that too, to educate, but also with the name of African Methodist Episcopal, to let the people know that we're multicultural. To open it up, to let them know that we're just not African American, we're reaching out to everyone. So I think we need to, elaborate on that and let them know that we're open to everyone.
Okay.
We're not sitting on our laurels of history, we're not doing that. We're still growing and developing in the community and let that community understand that what they did then, we're still doing it and we're doing it better.
Anybody? I'll take one more. I'll take one more.
Continuing to make history.
No, let's go over there.
Continuing to make history.
We're continuing to make history. When was the AME Church founded? 1787. 1787. At the dawn of the 18th century. If you look at the history of African Methodism, the next century for us, right? From 1815 to 1900 was the greatest period of growth for the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We spread, look at African Methodism. From 1815, by 1819 we were in Haiti. The Haitian president at the time called Richard Allen and said, look, I heard about the church, and for the first free country in the Western Hemisphere, controlled by black folks, you ought to be in Haiti. And so the church jumped from the 1st and 2nd district to the 16th district. We didn't know that. Thought the 16th district came 16 in line. But we were in Haiti before we came west. And we grew. By 1836, 1835, 1836, we had at least 2 churches in Indiana. But if you look from 1900, the 20th century and the 21st century, we have declined in our growth. Because for some reason, some of the other denominations, some of the other fellowships, felt like they had a coin on the Holy Ghost. We were lost. I'm saying all of that for us because I think sometimes we rest on our history and are not creating for our future. Our history serves as a foundation on which we stand. I don't have to remind you every day that I'm a bald black man. I am a bald black man. I know who I am. Don't win. Amen. But what I can tell you is how I can help you. So I struggled. I'm going to give you an insight into, Bethel folks don't even know this yet. Pastor had to struggle this week. I just struggled. We're rolling out, we're having a church, Evangelism and Church Growth Conference. You'll hear a little bit more later on, November 17th and 18th. We want to invite everybody to come. But I want to roll a new PR campaign for Bethel. And I was looking at some posters, I was looking at some stuff, folks have brought some stuff in my office. Pastor, look at this. This is what I got from another church. It's what I got from a neighborhood, right? And so I'm putting all that stuff together. And I was putting together a poster. And it says, you belong here. Bethel Cathedral. 6417 Zionsville Road. And I struggled because I was like, what is the other going to think? What is the bishop going to say? I'm not putting an African Methodist Episcopal Church on it. Folks going to have a fit, right? Right? Yeah. Tell the truth. Some of y'all will have a fit. Tell the truth. Who do you think he is? This is an AME church. The name it. We know who we are. The fact is our polity, our method of worship will remain African Methodist Episcopal Church. That will not change. But folks are not attached to denomination anymore. All right, folks are looking for a place where they can worship. Folks are looking for a place where the Spirit will show up. And I've been struggling all week long. And I'm coming for some relief.
Yes.
Some other words.
Come on, Mama. Come on.
You gotta have a vision. Let's get back to, gotta have a vision. The 3 things I want to leave with you. Organizing the church, preparation of planning meetings and conferences. All right, this is unique African Methodist Episcopal Church stuff. Organizing the church. One of the first things, pastors, upon your new appointment, you ought to organize your church. How many of us already organized our church? We're getting there. What does it mean to organize a church? What does it mean to organize a church? Election of officers. What officers get elected? The trustees get elected. How do they get elected? By the ballot. Who nominates the trustees? Okay. Is trustees a lifelong appointment? You ought to know that conversation though. If I have to go in front of the bishop every year and sweat for 5 days so that I'm going to get my same appointment. You ought to know that this is not a permanent appointment. So trustees are nominated by the pastor and elected by whom? Why?
Just to take care of all physical property.
You just quoted the discipline to me. Yes, there's such as physical property. Why? The trustees are what? They're members of the church. They're legal representatives of the church. So any contract that you engage in the state is engaged with the trustees. If you ever had to go get a loan, they're going to say, where did you go to the trustees? I need evidence that they got elected. So they are the legal representative for the church. Trustees are not only to move chairs and vacuum the church. I told my trustee boy, we met on when did we meet on Thursday night? We met on Thursday night, trustees, right? I need some thinking trustees. I need folks with brains. Because we're trying to do work, and it requires a trustee board to be able to do work. And so they're nominated by the pastor and elected by the congregation. Well, how else do we organize the church? What else do we need to put in place? Appointment of stewards. You appoint stewards? No. Oh. Say that out loud, Reverend Williams.
Nominate stewards and they are confirmed by the court.
Pastor, you must know the difference between nomination, recommendation, and appointment. You have to know what you have the legal right to do. You nominate trustees, you recommend the steward board, and you appoint ministry leaders, except WMS and lay organization. You can't appoint the WMS president. I'm sure somebody have the book of laws with them today, right? Pastors, you must know that who you can nominate, recommend, and appoint. You can appoint ministry leaders. Your minister of music, your minister of Christian education, and your superintendent. Recommendation to this quarterly conference. The elder will ask you when she comes. We are now going into the 3rd month after annual conference. At this point, our churches should be organized. Yeah, at this point, our local church should be organized. Pastors, if you have not done so yet, by next week, make sure you go and organize your church. Call a church conference. Same rule that we talked about yesterday, at least 2 weeks notice. Run it in the bulletin, put it on a piece of paper, stick it in the entranceway. We'll have a church conference in 2 weeks to organize the church. Take the time to look into the discipline. Read the discipline. You should not allow the laity to know more about what's in the book of discipline than you do. I told you I'm a trained administrator. And my teachers sometimes will try to use a contract against me. We operated in a union state in the District of Columbia. And I'll tell teachers all the time, I know the contract as well as you do. So go ahead and file the grievance. That doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me to say, I'm going to file a grievance against you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I know the contract. Right? Pastors, we have to know the discipline. It's all right to mark it up, to put some highlights in it. Because folks know what you're not supposed to do in the discipline. And you have to know what you can do. So you have to organize the church. Administration 101. If you need assistance in organizing your church, that's when the administrative committee comes in for the district. Call us, we walk with you through it. Or make a commitment. If you have not done so yet, 2 weeks from now, you should have your trustees elected, a list of the folks that you're recommended to be on the store board. We went ahead and elected our delegate and alternate to the annual conference and to the district conference. So they know the expectations coming in the coming year. All right, so organizing the church. We talked about the vision. Skip down to the third slide. Each church should have specific goals moving her forward. These goals and objectives must be constantly reevaluated. Don't just set your goals, share it with the congregation, and sit it down. They should be the motivating factor for the church for the entire year. Let me also say, if you have a new appointment, it is imperative that you get to know all the properties that the church owns. Because in another 2 weeks, the elder is not going to take that as an excuse. I didn't know, I just got here. So I sat my trustee board down and said, what properties do we own? And I said, well, this property, we have a piece of land somewhere. I told the trustees, you can take me over there. At least you will see it. I don't have to go see it. We just drive by and look at it. I walked the property. I walked around the church property. All 13 acres of land that we have. Put on some shoes and walked. Because I want to know what God has entrusted to my leadership in this season. Right? You ought to know whether or not there are some defects. As I share with the trustee board, everything in Bethel is new. But it's not going to stay new. That's right. And not only that, everything is new, but we don't know what's in the building. So what I said to my trustees, over the next 3 months, we need to inventory everything the church owns. Why? Why is that important? Insurance purposes. Not only that, I need to attach a lifespan to something. So go ahead, brother.
What's going to wear out, what's going to come out. Are we going to, how we service our furnace, how we service the air conditioning.
That's right.
Are we going to do the paint? Are we going to hire it out? Are we going to, who's cleaning the carpets? Who's cleaning the pews? How are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? How are we going to accomplish it?
We factored in our budget for this year a one-time line item for deep cleaning of the building. So after annual conference, a line item in our budget that says immediately at the annual conference, we'll have somebody to come in to deep clean the building. Because you have to take care of what God has blessed you with. And you have to plan for that. The importance of putting together an inventory and a life cycle for some of the things that you have. You don't want to be surprised by a major breakage. If you know you have sound equipment and a life cycle for the sound equipment is 15 years and you're on year 17, you ought to plan something. Right? And pastors, this can be overwhelming. Because the fact is some of us are not really good at managing our own assets. Reverend Al Sharpton said a couple of weeks when he was here that the black church was the first institution as a child growing up that Big Mama and Big Papa who rented an apartment would show up to church and will be a part of the board of trustees that owned something. It's the first institution that we own. And so historically, we have folks that are serving on boards that in their own personal lives might not have access to the resource or the responsibility of managing a building that is $3.2 million. Can I give a plug for the young adults? You got young adults in your congregation that are working in corporations, businesses that are managing thousands of dollars. We want to allow them to lead in the church. Because you're young. Sidebar. We ought to be able to manage what God has given to us. And the administration of the church is knowing what you have. So inventory. Preparation of administrative leadership attempts to bring unity and harmony to the many activities taking place in the local church. In order to be effective pastors, we must be effective, organized leaders. We must be effective, organized leaders. So when you hold a church conference, when you hold an official board, when you hold a trustee board meeting, a store board meeting, you have to be organized.
Yes.
Type out an agenda.
Yes.
That guides the meeting. Know what your objectives are. And pastors, act like you know what's going to happen next. You can't call a meeting and you are as lost as the person sitting in the chair. That's just, well, I don't know what direction we're going with. We don't. And can I, Presiding Elder Haywood, now Pastor Haywood, Samuel Haywood from the 2nd District, when we were going to the Board of Examiners, shared with us that it's okay if you have some major issues happening at the church or something coming up. Just talk to folks before the meeting. Go out to lunch with some folks. Pull some folks in the office and have a meeting. I'm thinking about this. My last station where I served, we had a trustee who was the person of the trustee board. And he had a strong personality. And I realized that whenever he didn't agree with something that I said, 3 or 4 other of the trustees would just not agree. So I came home to my wife and I said, "Hon, I don't know what's going on." I said, "God, just give me some discernment." And so what I did, I went to his office one day. He showed up at his office. He ran an insurance firm. Showed up at his office. I said, "Brother, I just want to talk to you. What's your vision for the church?" He talked for like 45 minutes. I listened. And I said, "You know, it wasn't good. I think that we can work together to make this happen." Every time we had a major issue coming up, we were doing some major construction on the church. Every time we had a major issue coming up, I would go to his office and I would talk to him. I said, "Brother, I'm going to bring this up at the trustee board meeting. I just want to get a feel for where you are." Pastor, I think that's a good idea. Right then and there, I realized, and I know that I have at least 5 persons on the trustee board, because he had his group of folks. Those were his brothers that he talked to every day. And I couldn't talk to them. He would talk to them. And even if I wanted to talk to them, they would call him. So I had to, pastors, we have to learn the culture of our congregation. What you don't know, or what you might not realize, is when you get in your car and you drive back home, they're at each other's house having dinner. And they're talking about you, they're talking about the sermon, and they're talking about what we're not going to do, or we will give it a chance on this. So you got to learn the players in the congregation. You got to learn the folks that are in place that can either help the vision along or kill your vision.
Very well.
All right, that's where we are? Oh, that's a pretty slide. said, that is pretty. All right, I only have a few more minutes. Tackling the big issue, budget. I've been serving in the AME church now for 20 years. And one of the things that I realized is that the budget for us is almost a stronghold around so many of us. And I would share that I believe that we need to look at it a little bit different. We are part of the AME church. We're not going to change that. We serve in the context. We took the appointment. You said, I'm going to serve in the AME church. Therefore, there are some obligations that come with that. Coming up in the 2nd district, I shared this, my wife and I were talking about this. We never really knew what our obligations were. It was never a conversation at church conference. It wasn't anything that led the discussion. All we knew was a line item in the budget. It wasn't what drove the vision for the year. All we knew it was a line item in the budget. And unfortunately, some of us have gotten to the point where our budget obligation drives our vision for the church. And it should not be. Now I know it's an obligation. So are my sheep. I ask a couple of questions. But then I respond, I'm going to pay the obligation. But it will not drive the vision for the year. Because we're clear as to what God has given to us as a vision. And so, pastors, lay leaders, we have to get past the budget being the driving force for the vision for the church. The way to pay the budget is to get more folks sitting in the pews.
Amen.
Which means that my focus needs to be on evangelism and church growth instead of being strangled by the budget. And if you trust God and do the work, the Bible says faith without works. So I'm going to trust God. I'm going to believe God for the vision. But I'm also do the work. I'm going to train my folks that we're going to journey through this together. And I share with folks that if you trust the God in me as your pastor, as your leader, you might not agree with everything that comes out of me. But you trust the God in me. And you can ask God for clarity for you along the vision.
That's right.
And pastor, sometimes we get so tight when somebody objects to what the Lord told you. How dare you? No, maybe the Lord sent somebody to help you to submit what He told you. And understand the fight is never personal. Sometimes opportunities come for us to grow. Lord, did you really tell me that? Yes, I did. So why is Sister so-and-so is creating roadblocks everywhere? God is trying to get us to a place where we're working through some of the stuff with the people that He sent out. Not everybody's going to agree with the vision. That's the uniqueness about the church. And it's not just the black church. So don't say it's black folks, black church. We got some uniqueness about us. But church folks are church folks. All right, let me pause right there. I have more to say. I do. All right. Let me pause right there because I'm running out of time. I ran out of time. Questions or comments?
I got that.
You got it? Okay. So you look at that. Great transition. Go back to the previous slide.
Just skip that.
Questions or comments? Any questions or comments?
I sent you a text.
You did. I love mother. Any questions or comments? Amen. Any questions? Was this helpful? Perkins page, just for you if you want to do some further reading about church administration. But a couple of things. I believe in supplemental readings. I believe you ought to read something.
Amen.
Other than the Bible. To encourage you. 2 books that have blessed me tremendously in my ministry. This book called The Irresistible Church. 12 Traits of a Church Having Applause. Talks about the experience of individuals once they walk inside your church. Basically, is your church at a place where God is satisfied? Does the Holy Ghost show up and stay? I just look in the door and say, no, I'm not staying in that one. So who's who's the newest pastor? Amen. Preach your word. God bless you. The second book is called All In. And this brother, I'm actually giving a foreshadowing. I'm going to do a Bible study series starting at the beginning of the year, based on what Dr. Reginald Blunt shared at a planning meeting. His newest book is called What If? He's a pastor in the D.C., in the Capitol Hill area of D.C., and he does a lot of work around your complete commitment to God. Just built a church, quite a few buildings, about $30 million. Where his church is located, it's $1 million per acre of land in that Capitol Hill area in D.C. And so this book talks about you got to be all in. That's right. You can't be halfway. You can't serve the Lord today and later on today you're cussing somebody out. You can't just show up to church because it is tradition to show up to church, but the church never gets in you. If you're going to commit to God, you got to commit the whole way. You got to be all in. You got to be ride or die. All right? And so I want to bless somebody with this book. I got you, Brother Howard. But I'm going to give my daughter a Bethel Church. Bless you. Bless you. I have one other thing, and I don't know how we want to do this. How many of us do not have a book of worship? Pastors do not have a book of worship. You do not have a book of worship. Bless you. Pastors. That's one over there. Amen. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.